difficult. It seems that everyone else is better than me. Okay, I'm a mess. No, you're not a mess. You're not a mess. You're very, very human, very beautifully human, very honestly, vulnerably human. And this is something that we all go through. I'm going to just read the question again because it was slightly long, so I want you all to actually hear the content. But I also want you to hear, along with the content, I want you to hear the flow of the energy in the way that the question asker thinks and speaks. How can I increase my willpower? I give up too easily about many things. I try to meditate for 1 week and stop for 1 month. I feel it's no use. I end up not sure that I really love God. I think it's very difficult to be a better person. It seems that everyone else is better than me. Okay, I'm a mess. Now, aside from the struggles that this person is having, which are so common, if you notice the flow of the words and the sentences, what you'll notice also is that in the midst of that struggle, he or she isn't even exactly sure what they're struggling about. So we begin with a willpower problem. How do I increase my willpower? A sentence or two later, we're in the problem of, do I even love God? A sentence later, we're in the problem that I'm not a good person. Everybody else is better than I am. I'm not a good person. So we don't even have one problem that stays with us. I don't have willpower means essentially, in general, I'm a good person. I'm a committed person, but I've got this weakness of my willpower and I need to increase it. Okay. Then we've got a situation of, how do I even know if I love God? I mean, that's huge. Completely separate problem, but that's a huge, pervasive, core of myself. I mean, to love God or not to love God isn't the sort of dilemma like, I don't know if I prefer strawberry or vanilla ice cream. It's a very deep core issue. And then we're at another very deep core issue, but one that is entirely separate, which is basically, I don't even know if I love myself. I'm trying to be a good person. I'm not a good person. Everyone else is better than I am. And I mention this to you because I was struck as I read the question with the problems that he or she mentioned, and we'll come back to those. But to something that so many of us face, which is really this sort of scatterbrainedness, generalized anxiety, depression, bad feeling. But when we're not even sure what the bad feeling is caused by, is it because I don't have enough willpower? Okay, well, there's a solution to that. Is it because I'm supposed to love God and I don't love God? Or maybe it's just in general because I'm really just a horrible person. And this is actually something that on a deep level, a lot of people are really facing these days, which is an inner sense of something's not right, but we're not actually even sure what it is. And we're really scatterbrained about the idea of what might be wrong with us. And And of course, the problem is just exacerbated. It's made worse by our email inboxes, our social media feeds, because they're constantly trying to tell us what the problem is, right? You're not happy because you do this thing. And if you just join my course, I'll teach you how not to do that thing. Or you're not happy enough because you don't have this skill. And if you just join my course, I'll give you that skill. So they're all advertisements. But embedded in the advertisement is this indoctrination of what it is that is wrong with you. And so we end up in this generalized state of, I'm not quite right, something is wrong. But I'm not even sure which course to join, whose product to buy, in order to figure out how to solve what it is that's wrong with me. And this is actually where our spiritual practice of meditation and mindfulness are so powerful, because what they do is they get you beyond the story that the mind is telling. Because you see in just the question how many different stories his or her mind is telling them? Right? One person, one question, and 3-4 different complete stories. You're a good person, but you lack willpower. You're a failure as a lover of God. Like the core of who you are has just fallen out. And by the way, in general, you're a total mess. Completely different stories. So, for all of us, this is where that meditation and just mindfulness is so important. To just be aware. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not this sense inside me telling me this is wrong, that's wrong. I'm actually that which is whole and complete. I'm not the thoughts. And this is what all of our meditation teaching teaches us. You're not the thoughts. Now, we then take the actual individual issues, because they're all important. But it's important for the asker of this question to realize there isn't actually anything wrong with you. You're not your thoughts that tell you all of those things. But let's look at them. Because you've brought them before us, you've brought them into satsang, we'll look at them. Number 1, lack of willpower. You know, I think these days what we're calling a lack of willpower is actually a lack of focus and attention. We've got the willpower. If there's something that we really, really want, we do it. What we've lost is the power of attention. And so when we've decided, for example, I'm going to meditate, I sit down, I've got to stay focused, I've got to stay attentive, but I'm not able to do that so well, so I jump up, meditation is over. Then the time for my meditation the next day, I realize I wasn't able to stay focused. So instead of trying to sit and meditate again, I just do something else. It's not willpower. It's attention. And it's patience. Because what's happened to us is we've also lost the ability to just be patient with ourselves. Everything now is immediate, right? Whatever you want, you can have it immediately. Go on Amazon, order it. In India, it still takes a couple of days. In America, same day. Same day service, whatever you want. Like, it occurs to you. And there it is. Pretty soon, you're just going to think it. And Amazon's going to intuit it. There'll be something you can buy and stick in your brain, and you'll just have a thought, and Amazon's going to send it to you. Whatever we want, it's there immediately. Our sense of focus and attention has gotten much less. It used to be that we had long conversations and we read books. Then we shifted to watching TV, 30-minute shows, 1-hour shows, 2-hour movies. Then we shifted to online. And we're now at a place where basically if it's not 3 minutes or less, nobody's going to watch it. Our attention has gotten non-existent. So we've lost the ability to simply be patient. If a video doesn't grab us, I've been told you've got 3 seconds. Right? This is the wisdom of people in the world of communications today. You've got 3 seconds to grab someone's attention. Really? 3 seconds? I mean, that's all we can actually pay attention before we scroll? We're only a few years from entire generations of books that began slow. I mean, there was an arc that a book had. There was an arc that a movie had. But we're even losing our ability to be attentive and patient for that. So I think a lot of what is happening with our willpower is just our ability to actually sit there in meditation. Okay, nothing's happening at the moment, no problem. I'm just going to be aware of that nothingness. I mean, that is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just supposed to be watching. So if nothing is happening, I'm just going to watch nothingness. Now frustration is happening. Okay, I'll just watch frustration. In nothingness, in frustration, I'm breathing. I'm watching my breath. And I'm watching nothingness. Or I'm watching my breath and I'm watching frustration. Or I'm watching my breath and I'm watching a rising restlessness. Okay, I'm just watching it. But we've got to retrain ourselves, quite literally our brains. We literally have to retrain the neural circuitry of our brain to be able to stay attentive and engaged and patient. And then slowly, slowly, what you'll find is that which you're calling willpower will grow. We lose our willpower because of that inner restlessness. Nothing's happening. I've got so much to do. Let's do something else. I need some excitement. Haven't had a dopamine hit in 2.5 minutes. We need to retrain that neural circuitry. And it takes patience. And it takes abhyas. Practice. And slowly, slowly it'll happen. You'll train yourself. The brain keeps changing, don't worry. But just Just do it. And then the question about, do I even love God? Well, that's not a question for the mind to answer. And the more you try to bring the mind into love, the more off track it goes. I mean, just imagine, close your eyes for a moment, and just imagine the most beautiful hug with someone you deeply love. It could be a parent, it could be a child, it could be a spouse, it could be a friend, it could be a tree, it could be your pet. But just a beautiful, beautiful hug in which you just lose your sense of self. You lose where you end and that other person begins. Now imagine, as you're doing the hug, that you've been given the instruction to figure out approximately what percentage of your weight you are holding up and what percentage you have put on the other person, and approximately what percentage of weight the other person is holding of theirs and what they've put on you. Okay? What happens to the deliciousness of the hug? What happens? The moment you start trying to figure that out, what happens to it? You can open your eyes. What happens to that feeling? Is it just as ecstatic? No? Everybody shaking their head no. Why? Why isn't it so ecstatic anymore? 1 minute you're in ecstasy. The next minute you're still hugging the person. They haven't done anything wrong. You've just been given something to figure out. What's happened? You've brought in the mind. And the minute the mind comes in, love now is at an arm's length. Now I've got to figure it out. Now suddenly there's a place my body ends and the other body begins. Where we were two become one, now suddenly we are very much two and I have to figure this thing out. And by the way, that's true regardless of what you are thinking about while you hug. Oh wow, you must be exercising a lot. You feel really strong. Your back is strong, your arms are strong. Even so, it's going to pull you out of the moment. Suddenly, two becomes one, becomes two again. So the mind should never be engaged in love. So if you're trying to figure out if you love God, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And even if you do love God, you're going to be sure that you can't feel it because you're trying to figure it out in your mind. So instead of that, just pretend for a moment that there isn't actually a test. And there isn't. It's not pretend, it's real. But let yourself realize it. There is no exam, there is no test. There is no lie detector that somehow somebody's going to come down and stick you up and you're going to have to say if you really love God or don't really love God, and it's going to measure you. Regardless of whether you love God or not, we always should love God more. So instead of focusing on where you are on the love God scale, focus on how you can love God more. If you already love God, it'll just increase. If you don't yet love God, no problem, it will start. Just focus on that. Focus on ways in your life that you can love God through prayer, through japa, through seva, Whoever you serve, try to see the divine in them. Whoever you meet, try to see the divine in them. You know, when we do namaste, it literally means I bow to the divine in you. Well, there you go. It's a beautiful practice. Whoever you meet, just say namaste. Can you actually bow to the presence of the divine, to God in them? Bow to God in them. And if they happen to be someone you love, well, there you go. Love God in them. And slowly, slowly, slowly that love will blossom. And lastly, it isn't hard to be a better person unless you are competing against other people. And we should never compete against other people in anything. We should only check ourselves within ourselves. So if yesterday I got angry 5 times, maybe today I could get angry only 4 times. And if you got angry 8 times today, okay. At the end of the day, we pray to God for the strength that tomorrow I should get angry less. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself only to what you know about the truth of yourself. Are you living as an instrument of the divine? Are you living as an embodiment of the divine? Are you living as love? Are you living as truth? Are you doing your best? It's all that can be asked of you. Just do your best. And if you find that your best doesn't satisfy you, no problem. Just ask God for the strength. The strength to do better the next day. In the morning, pray for the strength. And it'll be given, you'll have it. But remember, you're human. We're divine spiritual beings in a human experience. And in that human experience, we struggle. It's okay. The goal is not to figure out how to do this human thing perfectly. Inherent in the very nature of being human is we're going to keep messing it up. The point is to realize that we're here to do our very best as humans, but to realize that at the core of who we are, we're divine, regardless of how much we mess up the human part. And to connect with that divine inside you. So know you are not a mess. Believe in yourself. Feel that presence of the divine in you. You are not a mess, I promise. Beautiful. Does anyone here have any questions? Yes.
Pranam Sadhviji. This is my last day. I'm in tears, but yes, this is not my last day. Definitely I will come again. So I have so many questions, but I was just writing in my mobile when you were saying, because it was coming back to back. So let me just read it out, all the questions.
Sure, no problem.
So after meeting you yesterday, so I'm feeling so blessed and so good that my spiritual journey also can be completed if I'll go forward, because it's a kind of magnet which attracting me moment by moment. So I'm also feeling that this is my spiritual journey. Now it will begin, because since my childhood I was so, I was so connected to the God. That's why I'm not married. My age is 30. My parents are saying go and get married. I said no, this is not my journey to go and get married. So that's the thing. And also Guruji said today the three things that be usable, be yogi, and be successful to give your service to the people. So yes, I don't know how to do exactly, but somewhere according to my understanding, I'm doing that. But I'm not yogi still. So I wanted to be a yogi, and the thing is that it's. I will say that. Will you be accept me as your student? I don't know what I will do what I have to do for that, but I want to be your student. I want to be learn more, and I want to be a spiritual person. And then the question is that like in the morning or in the evening, I'm doing the puja, I'm sitting with God, and again I'm getting that you have a meeting, you have a schedule for the other things, and I'm not able to give the time which I wanted to give, maybe hour or 2 hours. So how to balance that? Because I wanted to devote my time to the God, but I do have other responsibilities to perform.
Sure.
So that's, I'm not happy sometimes. I'm sitting with God and my mind is somewhere else, that I need to do that, I need to conduct a meeting, I need to take that session.
Done.
And so on. So that's a mess for me again. And also I'm hungry for I'm really hungry. I have thousands of questions to ask you, but I know this is a time limit, and
Okay,
there are so many people.
We'll start with what you've given, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure, thank you.
First of all, you are a spiritual person. Already, a deeply spiritual person. When you think about your daily schedule, how much time you have to be with God, how much else you have to do. If you're with someone you love, let's say you are sitting with your mom or your dad or a good friend, okay? You really love this person. And you're sitting with them, and maybe you're sitting with them for 2-3 hours. But every 2 seconds, they pick up their phone and okay? Now you're talking to them, and they're like, Now, how do you feel about that interaction? Pretty badly. Yeah, I mean, matlab maza nahi aata, right? You love them, you're trying to be with them, and they are distracted. Now, I think that's how God must feel when we sit in meditation, thinking about our meetings and all of the things we have to do, right? So what I would say is, as a human being, I know for me, if someone I love only has 5 minutes, I would much rather 5 minutes and they're just with me, just talking to me, just looking at me, just being with me, rather than 3 hours in which I'm trying to talk to them and they are distracted the whole time. And so I have to imagine that maybe God feels the same way. And so I'd say figure out how much time you have that you can comfortably be with God, in which you don't have to think about anything else. Let's say you've got a meeting at 10 o'clock. Well, don't schedule your meditation until 9:45. Obviously, that's going to start to create a very stressful situation. Naturally, you will be thinking the meeting. But if you've got a meeting at 10, and it takes you maybe half an hour to get there, and you meditate from, say, 6 to 8, well, you've got an hour and a half then still at home to do whatever you need to do. Or maybe you spend an hour at home, you leave half an hour early, you're there half an hour early, however you plan it. But the point is, don't schedule your meditation in such a way that it's going to start coming up too close to what you've got to get done, so that the mind starts thinking about it. And if it means that you meditate a little bit less, or get up a little earlier, do it like that. Maybe instead of 2 hours, you meditate an hour. But you really do it focused on God. You're not thinking about what else you have to do. I think that, first of all, it's going to be much more satisfying for you. And I also think it's probably going to be more satisfying for God to really have you there fully. To Himself, herself, God's self, rather than sharing you with your thoughts about the meeting. But the other piece is, since you mentioned that you are not planning to get married and that you really want to live more of a spiritual life, I was speaking the other night about the concept of how much is enough. Like, how much do we really need? Because a lot of people work way more hours a day than they need to in order to have what really is enough for them. Now, there's no right answer to that. Everybody is different. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no better, there's no worse. Different people have different visions, different ideals, different dharmas, different opportunities. But what you need to ask yourself is, okay, I've got this particular job. It's got this particular benefits, opportunities. But it requires this much of my time. Maybe, and I don't know the answer to this, but it's just something for you to think about. Maybe there's a job I could take that still gives me what I need, that is still enough on my plate, but actually leaves me with some more time to be focused on God, some more time to do seva, some more time to learn the Vedas you were talking about, some more time to visit spiritual places. Allow that possibility to exist. We've got very specific cultural indoctrinations around what counts as success. And we really need to be able to open up our definition of success. And to realize that not everyone's definition of success is going to be the same as everyone else's. And not to mold your life after someone else's definition of success. You've already done that by the choice of not getting married. And you may find yourself wanting to do that in the choice of a job or a career. Something that's in line with really what your deepest and highest values are. But that obviously gives you enough. So just allow yourself to think about that as well. And only you are going to know the answer to that. Okay? Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes.
प्रणाम माता जी, मैं देहरादून से हूँ. I will speak in English. I feel pretty confused many times, and I do my sadhana. I have considered Pandit Shri Ram Sharma Acharya as my guru, but when I say that I have to do guru's work and much is needed from me, and I am not fulfilling that. Somewhere the heart is with little pain that I have so much potential within me, and in some or the other way the world is not understanding that. And
you mean in terms of your work, in terms of your career, or in terms of your sadhana?
Also in terms of, firstly, my sadhana.
So we're all, in many ways, we're all in the same boat. We've got so much potential. On a spiritual level, so much potential, so much possibility to realize, to experience, to be. But we're not manifesting it. And of course, the reason for that in many cases is we're distracted. We're trying to run in too many different directions simultaneously. And this is where, in our sadhana time, it's really important to be focused on sadhana. Schedule it at a time of the day in which you're not going to be distracted, either logistically or mentally. Schedule it in a place that you won't be distracted. Really dedicate that time to it. It is that which gives you the possibility of experiencing your highest calling in this human body on earth. When you stand up from your sadhana, though, and you move through the world, if I change suddenly how I think, that in my sadhana it's all about I am one with all, I am one with all, I am one with God, then I walk out of my sadhana and it's all about how can I cheat other people out of their money so I have more, or how can I step on someone else's head to get ahead in the company, how can I grab and grasp and push these people out of the way. Well, we're undermining our own sadhana. Sadhana doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's not separate from the rest of our life. It's that fragrance that stays with us as we move through the world. So carry that fragrance of your sadhana. Yes, you go to work, you do your work, but do it with the fragrance of sadhana, of knowing I'm an instrument in God's hands. I offer myself fully. My skills, my abilities, my time, my talent, my resources, I offer them. When we do the beautiful yajna ceremony, we offer into the fire, into the fire, into the fire. It reminds us that's what our life is supposed to be. We sit in a circle around it, not in the center of the fire. And we offer into the fire. It reminds us in life, we should be the ones offering and offering and offering. When you try to be the one in the center, you get burned. Quite literally. Like trying to sit in the yajna fire. You're going to get burned. Instead, remember, your role is to offer whatever you've got, your time, your abilities, your resources, your skills. We offer them to the divine, to the creation, as an instrument. And then that beautiful sadhana stays with you even as you are thriving, succeeding, in whatever way you may be, in your job as well. But keep them as one flowing thing rather than two separate things. One is your closed eye sadhana, one is your open eye sadhana. Okay? Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening, a beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to all of you.